Vuyani Moses in bioinformatics. As fossil fuels become depleted, alternatives such as biofuels are required. However, the complex nature of plant biomass makes cellulose degradation, hence biofuel production, challenging. AA9 proteins act with other cellulose-degrading enzymes, resulting in an increased rate of cellulose breakdown. Vuyani's thesis aimed to better understand the AA9 mechanism via computational approaches. He analyzed the features of different types of AA9s and highlighted the differences between their modes of interaction with cellulose. His findings are important to industrial applications. Yusuf Musa Motara in computer science. Cryptographic hashes are used to secure important information, such as passwords. This research evaluated the commonly used SHA-1 algorithm against a number of novel pre-imaging attacks. The attacks were found to be theoretically sound, but not practically viable for the foreseeable future, given hardware constraints of current computing platforms. The research has independently verified the security of SHA-1 and similar algorithms against the chosen attack vectors, and the pre-image problem remains unsolved and unsolvable. Mate, Victoria, Kuena, and Seke in computer science. Mate's thesis explores how everyday indigenous knowledge can be collected and organized digitally to enhance the educational outcomes of learners from marginalized backgrounds. By simulating the production of teaching and learning materials that include local imagery and knowledge in order to have resonance with the learners. The design of the collection platform was done in the Siakula Living Lab, a facility located in a deep rural area of X-Transkei, where people become co-creators of the solution to improve their lives. Well done. Junita Devi Nanhoki in physics. When the universe is only 100 million years old, it was filled with neutral hydrogen gas from which the first galaxies were formed. Radio astronomical observations can tell us how and when those first galaxies formed, and it is one of the advantages of the future square kilometer array. Junita assessed the impact of astrophysical and instrumental contaminations that can prevent the measurement of the faint radiation from that primordial gas. Junita found that the contamination may be severe and provided methods to mitigate the impact. Jacob Taiwo Olawale in environmental biotechnology. Jacob joined an Anglo-American coal-sponsored project to investigate the microbial biodegradation of weathered and waste coal. Jacob showed that a number of bacteria isolated from coal discard dumps are capable of metabolizing waste coal to yield coal-derived humic acid-like substances. The study is of importance in developing sustainable and passive protocols for land rehabilitation post-mining and in mitigating land deterioration in general. Nicola Diane Orford in physics. Quiet time disturbances are disturbances in the ionosphere occurring during quiet geomagnetic conditions. Pre-storm enhancements, a subclass of Q disturbances, were proposed as a potential predictor of geomagnetic storms, which pose a risk to technology. Nicola's research characterized Q disturbances morphology over Africa using GPS-measured total electron content. Comparable morphology suggests pre-storms are not a special case of Q disturbances, with infrequent occurrences rendering them a poor predictor of storms. The plasmasphere was found to be a major contributor to these disturbances at mid-latitudes. Lee Pote in Human Kinetics and Ergonomics. Lee showed that in a school-level cohort of cricket players, there's a higher risk of injury. Further, that strength and conditioning knowledge and the practices in poorer, lower quintile schools were lacking. As a result, appropriate injury prevention strategies are not in place. In better resource schools, knowledge and practice were better, but still not optimal. In response, he designed and assessed the efficacy of a low-cost, no-cost pre-season cricket-specific injury prevention program, which can be easily implemented by all coaches and in all schools, irrespective of financial resources. Sivu Yusiwe Situngu in botany. The plant leaf is like a savanna, inhabited by minute herbivores, carnivores, and scavengers. These minute organisms are mites, and some plants encourage their presence on the plant by offering them a home in specialized structures on their leaves. Sivu showed that mites prefer leaves on the tree canopy that are cooler and more shaded, and that there is an annual cycle of mite species on a single host plant. In addition, she discovered and named several species of mite that are new to science. Perfect. Andrew Luke Skono in botany. Savanna grasslands occupy about 20% of South Africa's land surface and are threatened by encroachment by woody plants. Andrew used local and regional scale approaches to quantify encroachment and determine patterns, mechanisms, and drivers of encroachment. Using remote sensing, he showed woodlands in South Africa have increased by 27,000 kilometers squared in the past 23 years, and that the regional differences relate to rainfall and how this affects invading tree demography. This has important implications for the management of these ecosystems within the context of global climate change. Sylvie Mwanga Tipitendwa in environmental biotechnology. Sylvie joined Rhodes as a recipient of an Organization for Women in Science for the Developing World doctoral scholarship. Since arriving, Sylvie has developed a novel set of design parameters, built, operated, and modified the performance of a new vertical-horizontal hybrid constructed wetland for wastewater treatment. Outcomes indicate that the results from this research will help drive innovation and implementation of this passive and resilient technology for the treatment of domestic sewage in sub-Saharan Africa. Amino Usman in biochemistry. Catechol O-methyltransferase is a medically relevant enzyme whose activity is implicated in the treatment of neurodegenerative diseases such as Parkinson's and schizophrenia. Amino characterize a recombinant methyltransferase, gaining valuable insights into the mechanism of action of the enzyme through interaction with gold and silver nanoparticles. His research showed the inhibition of the enzyme through prevention of dimerization, a finding which may have important implications in preventing the breakdown of drugs used in the treatment of neurodegenerative diseases. Emmanuel Captain Vellemue in water resource science. The combination of high levels of salts and acid mine drainage, mainly from gold and coal mining activities, pose serious threats to South African freshwater resources. Therefore, Emmanuel's study investigated the possible ecological risk conferred by combined acid mine drainage and sulfate salts to aquatic ecosystems and proposed an appropriate management strategy. His study resulted in deriving water quality guidelines for acid mine drainage and salts and formulated a combined freshwater resources management framework incorporating a novel macroinvertebrate tray-based approach. Samantha Shea Waterworth in microbiology. Bioactive small molecules produced by marine sponges are important lead compounds for drug development, but they frequently fail to get to the market because of the problem of supply. Isolation from sponges is not sustainable, and the compounds are often difficult to produce synthetically. Samantha used metagenomics to investigate pyrroloaminoquinone biosynthesis in trunculate sponges, identifying genetic pathways for producing novel compounds with pharmaceutical potential. Her work paves the way for engineering bioprocesses to produce these compounds in the laboratory.
Mr. Chancellor, the Vice-Chancellor's Senior Distinguished Teaching Award is made annually to an individual with 10 or more years of experience teaching at a university, and who has demonstrated to a panel of peers that their work as an academic teacher is truly distinguished. Today it's my honor to present to you Mrs. Joyce Suri of the Department of Chemistry for the 2017 award. Joyce Suri grew up in an Afrikaans farming community around Beaufort West. Her home was one of the very few speaking English in the area, and her mother was a high school English teacher. As there were so few English-speaking children in the area, classes were taught together for English, and learners studied all their other subjects through the medium of Afrikaans, although they did have English textbooks and were assessed in the language. Joyce came to Rhodes University to study and gained a BSc, majoring in chemistry and mathematics in 1983. Having graduated, she then went into industry, working for ISCOR as an industrial hygienist, focusing on pollution and noise control. Big city life and working in industry were not for Joyce, however, and she returned to Grahamstown to work as a research assistant on a contract basis. Joyce had been doing a higher diploma in education through UNISA, and once she'd gained this qualification, was employed by the Department of Chemistry in 1989 on a very part-time basis as their academic support tutor. Over time, the department realized the value of Joyce's teaching in providing support to students struggling with chemistry, and her workload was gradually increased until, in 1993, she was appointed to a full-time position as an academic development lecturer. Chemistry, like other subjects in the natural sciences, has what sociologist Basil Bernstein would call a hierarchical knowledge structure. This means that knowledge is produced by working with data and observations to produce ever more overarching principles and theories that will make sense of the data. A hierarchical knowledge structure is often depicted as a pyramid, and what this means for learners is that if knowledge at the base of the structure is not properly understood, it's simply impossible to move higher up on the pyramid. In simple terms, this would mean, for example, that if learners were not able to understand what an atom is, they would not be able to even begin to understand the complex structure of molecules higher up on the pyramid. Sadly, the state of science teaching, and particularly the teaching of chemistry in our schools, leaves much to be desired. This means that knowledge at the base of the pyramid, which should have been developed during the school years, is often incomplete or misunderstood. When they often enter university, students are often stuck because they lack this basic knowledge and simply cannot proceed further in their studies until the gaps in the pyramid are filled. At the same time, chemistry, Joyce's subject, is a gateway subject for study in many of the natural sciences. Without chemistry, it's impossible to proceed in many subjects, since understandings of, for example, how plants take up nutrients from the soil is often dependent on understandings of chemical reactions. In bald terms, this means that students have to pass chemistry courses located at the bottom of the curriculum, or they can't proceed. All of Joyce's teaching, regardless of the level, is directed at ensuring students have a firm grip on the knowledge and understandings they need to go further in their study of chemistry. At Rhodes University, however, she's particularly well known for her teaching of the Chemistry 1R course, intended for students who achieve very low marks in Chemistry 101 in June of their first year. The course begins in July of each year and repeats the work of Chemistry 101 done in the first semester, and then covers Chemistry 102 content from February to June the next year, thus giving students a very firm foundation to proceed further in chemistry or other subjects in the sciences. Although students are never keen to have to repeat work, and often, in Joyce's words, resent the horrible subject they've failed so badly, their response to Chemistry 1R is enormously positive, largely because of Joyce's teaching, which is immaculately prepared and planned in order to allow students to take the incremental steps in understanding to really get the subject under their belts. Her classes are highly interactive and are aimed at building students' confidence that they too can do this difficult thing called chemistry. Joyce also tries hard to get students to see that chemistry is not only the stuff of lecture halls and laboratories, but has practical applications in their daily lives. In the organic chemistry course, she arrives every morning with a basket of items taken from home, so students can read the labels and work out what is going on in the product they're examining. In the biological building blocks course, she once again gets students to read labels on food products to identify types of fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. In this way, chemistry is brought to life for students. Joyce Suri's love of teaching and her enormous desire to provide students with access to science and maths in general, and chemistry in particular, doesn't stop within the bounds of Rhodes University. Although Joyce's work as an exceptional teacher is being recognized for a Distinguished Teaching Award today, it could easily have been recognized for community engagement. And indeed, her work in this area has been recognized by the university in the form of the Community Engagement Medal. For years now, she's given up her Saturdays to run science and maths clubs for learners from under-resourced schools in order to try to introduce them to the pleasure of studying science and maths. Joyce's work as a science teacher has been widely recognized. In 2002, she was awarded the Chemical Education Medal by the South African Chemical Institute. Her own faculty colleagues elected her as Deputy Dean of Science with special responsibility for teaching and learning in 2014, a role in which she's had enormous impact in developing teaching more generally by, for example, driving curriculum review processes and working with admissions. However, no matter how disorganized, how distracted by their social lives, or how just plain lazy students may be, they can always spot a good teacher when they see one. And it is to the words of students that I will turn to finish my citation. In 2015, the Chemistry 1R2 class wrote, "Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all the care, love, and effort you have put into teaching us. Your patience and commitment have been unwavering, and we wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you. You're always willing to go the extra mile and make chemistry understandable, which isn't easy, and all of this with a smile. You're amazing." And a more mature student wrote, "If the world could have more people with your caliber and dedication to perseverance and towards work ethics, I'm certain this country would be a better place. Thank you for all the work you're doing and the level of enthusiasm you show. Rhodes University is truly blessed to have you in it." Mr. Chancellor, may I ask you to demonstrate how blessed Rhodes University is to have such a truly distinguished teacher by asking you to award the 2017 Distinguished Teaching Medal to Joyce Suri.
Mr. Chancellor, I have the honor of presenting to you Professor Martin Patrick Hill, Director of the Center of Biological Control in the Department of Zoology and Entomology, for the conferment of the title Distinguished Professor. Rhodes University recognizes academic staff of outstanding scholarly reputation and productivity who have brought great distinction to the university through their academic work at this institution. And this recognition takes the form of conferment of the title Distinguished Professor, an acknowledgement made sparingly to truly meritorious recipients based upon the quality and influence of their scholarly achievements throughout their career. The last time this title was conferred was in 2011. Professor Hill is widely regarded as Africa's foremost authority on biological control of invasive aquatic weeds. His body of work continues to make influential contributions to the discipline both in South Africa and globally, notably to improving the safety and the effectiveness of biocontrol. Thanks to the direct work and national leadership of Professor Hill's group, South Africa as a country has researched and utilized more biological control agents on water weeds than any other country in the world. His expertise is widely acknowledged, judging by the many invitations to attend congresses, workshops, and to assist other countries with their water weed problems, particularly countries in Africa, thereby enhancing water security. A reviewer put it this way: it is not only his outstanding research record that deserves acclaim, but his leadership within the biological control community in South Africa and abroad. His ability to mold research from various institutions into a cooperative, effective unit is most commendable and certainly contributes to the high level of productivity within this country. Professor Hill was recruited to Rhodes University in 2002 specifically to breathe new life into our entomology program. The results of this appointment, in the words of a reviewer, have been spectacular. Not only is the Subdepartment of Entomology a thriving program of undergraduate and postgraduate activity, but Hill's research group is undoubtedly a high-profile research speciality of this university. The institutional strength in entomology resulted in the National Research Foundation awarding Rhodes University a Saatchi Chair in this field. It says something really special about the character of this man, that he elected to attract a top scientist from the UK to take up this position rather than occupy the prestigious spot himself. That candidate has since resigned, and we are in the process of nominating Professor Hill into this chair. The growth in his research group and the influence of their work has been extraordinary by any standard. In recent years, Professor Hill has pioneered training courses and capacity building programs that have catered in uniquely innovative ways for nearly 300 people from widely different academic backgrounds. His outreach programs have even encompassed school-level learners, and his successful initiative in training and employing people living with disabilities provides a model for what can be achieved with his particular brand of vision and determination. The convener of the Department of Environmental Affairs Working for Water Assessment Committee, which incidentally has recently awarded Professor Hill a research grant of 67 million rand over 3 years, described his research as value for money, internationally competitive, and cutting edge. More recently, he and his students have begun to tackle the important entomological problems associated with crop production, notably citrus, and this research is already making an international impact. His research is consequently of ecological, economic, and food security importance to the continent. He has a track record of 170 papers published in peer-reviewed journals, 10 book chapters, and is a noted supervisor. He has trained 12 postdoctoral fellows, has graduated 42 master's students and 22 doctoral candidates, 2 of whom we saw a few moments ago. One of his greatest contributions to Rhodes University is his initiative to establish and grow, attracting substantial funding to do so, the field of biological control of alien waterweeds, to the point where Rhodes University is now recognized as the top university in Africa in this field. Professor Hill has a talent for establishing substantial momentum and critical mass in terms of collaborators, postgraduate students, and additional funding. The group crosses the boundaries of disciplines, institutions, and countries, and the body of work produced has made influential contributions to the discipline both in South Africa and globally. The Center for Biological Control was officially launched at Rhodes University on the 2nd of November 2017. In recent years, Professor Hill has been the recipient of the Vice-Chancellor's Distinguished Medal no less than 4 times. In 2005, he was awarded the Vice-Chancellor's Distinguished Research Award, and then in 2013, he received 2. One was the Vice-Chancellor's Distinguished Senior Research Award, and the other was the Community Engagement Award as leader of the Biological Control Research Group. And then again in 2016, he received the Vice-Chancellor's Distinguished Senior Teaching Award. And it's really significant that these awards span all 3 pillars of the university, which is an institutional record shared by only one other colleague. So, Mr. Chancellor, I request that you confer the title Distinguished Professor on Martin Hill.
I also confer degrees on those candidates named in the program who are in absentia. Please rise for the national anthem. By virtue of the authority vested in me, I dissolve this congregation of Rhodes University.